Welcome to the channel, everybody. You're watching this because you want to know a little bit more about Dampstop. Now, I've previously done a video there was a lot more in depth than what this video is going to be. That video is one of my best viewed videos of all time. It's a very interesting video if you want to know the process of sorting out damp on a wall from the very beginning to virtually finishing. But I'm going to do it in a way that we can dense it down and make it a lot simpler to understand. We've got a wall here. Now, my father painted this wall, my dad did it years ago, and he did some gold stencils on it. Just random gold stencils, made a pattern, customer really happy. But if you can just see in that top corner there, can you just see, there's a little bit, I can't even say it, there's a little bit of penetrating damp from the chimney breast coming through, and it's just stained the wall. Now, clearly I'm going to have people jumping on the bandwagon like they did on that last video saying, oh, you got to sort out the source of the leak first and all the damp problems. This is an old house. This is over 100 years old. There is no way you are going to be chopping out that brickwork to replace bricks, re-skimming it, re-plasterboarding it and the likes. Cost and money all come into it. Now, we can put something over that to make it last for the next umpteen years that'll make it look clean and tidy and get rid of that nasty, unsightly, damp, penetrative, if that is even a word, on the surface of that wall there. And how do we do it? We use the Dampstop. This is Dampstop from Wallrock. If you don't know what it is, it's a black fabricy sort of paper with a foil over the top. Do not get this confused with the pitch foil paper going back, I don't know, 20, 30 years, which is a brown paper with a bitumastic centre and a Bako foil top over it, which I've explained in that video there is something that you have to use the waterproof adhesive, which you have to use a waterproof adhesive with this, but there's a specialist waterproof adhesive, it's called 3-in-1, whatever it is. You have to soak in that backing paper to allow it to be malleable, make it stretch. It won't stretch, but have to make it supple with the moisture, and then you put it on. We've moved away from that. We've got this now. This is actually a paste the wall product, whereas the other product was pasting the back of the pitch paper, which was the brown side, but we don't use that anymore. We use this. This is a product that's fabric. You're not going to rip it. You're going to paste the wall with the adhesive. That's the specialist adhesive. You paste the wall and hang it straight off the roll. Now, with the previous pitch foil paper that you might remember, you had to overlap it by, I don't know, quarter of an inch, depending on how bad the severity of the damp was, you had to overlap it. This stuff, you do not need to overlap. You can overlap it if you like, but it will create a ridge because that is quite thick. And it used to create a ridge on the other stuff and used to fill it out and then line over it. But with this, stuff moves on. But with this, you can hang it to the wall, butt joint it. On your joints, you brush a little bit more adhesive over it to seal it. You do all the wall. If it's a really bad wall, you can actually re-line over the top with this, going in the different direction, because you can hang vertically or horizontally, but when you come to do a second layer of this, you do it the opposite way around, so no joints correspond. If you wanted to hang from the top, work down, or hang from the bottom and work up, you could do. As long as you haven't got butt joints corresponding with them, you're fine, you can do that. But the idea is this adhesive is waterproof. This paper will stop any water, damp, staining coming through, and once this is on and it's been allowed to dry for 48 hours, you can line over the top with your traditional Wallrock. I've not got any with me here. Traditional Wallrock fibre liner. Hang that onto the wall using this adhesive again, and then once that fibre liner is dry, then you can paint it or wallpaper over it as normal. So we're 5 minutes into this video. I've told you what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, and we are using this to make it clear to stop that damp staining through, i.e. the wall finish, which at the moment is painted, or if there's any wallpaper going on, it would stop that stain mark coming through, and this is what it's for. The black side, which is like a fabric, goes against the wall and it finishes with a silver finish on the surface. I'm going to tell you now, if you've not watched that video in the corner, you cannot use ordinary tub adhesive to hang this or hang wallpaper over on this surface. It will not stick. You have to use this damp stop adhesive for this product and any subsequent wallpapers that go on top of that. Now the subsequent wallpaper will be a fibre liner Wallrock, or you might be using something like the Albany reinforced lining paper, but as long as it's a non-woven reinforced fibre lining paper, you can use that on that. Right, let's get started. Before we got underway, I've just cleaned that wall down, just gave it a light sand over. It isn't wallpaper, it's only a painted surface. There's a little bit of filler that I've done in that corner. Read the instructions of the actual Dampstop Thermic wallpaper. It all gives you all the information and instructions you need. What I've done, I've filled it all up, and now because that is a porous surface, i.e. it's dry, it's soaking any of the adhesive, I have this tub and I have it made up 1:1 ratio thin down, and use it for priming your dry surfaces. So the only time you will use this thinned is for priming a surface. Do not thin your paste for hanging the wallpaper, this silver stuff. Don't thin it down. Once that has been on for 24 hours, 48 hours, you can hang over the top. But before you actually hang over the top, it's an idea, and again, like it says in the instructions, just prime the surface with some of your thin down adhesive, and this is what I'm going to be using. Once I've got the paper on, I will go over the surface of the silver with that and allow it to dry before I put any fibre liner over the top. So this morning, first thing, that has been cleaned down, filled up, and I've put a thin coat of thin down on a 1:1 ratio, not a 50-50, a 1:1 ratio of that. It's still a little bit tacky, but it's about dry now, and now I can actually put the adhesive, which I've got it here. The adhesive, thick, straight out the tub, will be applied to that wall with a roller and a brush, and I will hang in the silver damp stop to it. As easy as that. Let's crack on. Right, I'm starting at the top. Literally, I've got a Hamilton roller sleeve, a lowish pile medium. It's nothing too special. In a roller bucket, I'm just going to cut in around the top, put plenty on. I've just got a nice 2.5 inch brush, brushing it around the top. You can just probably see. Put plenty on there. I'm now going over the little bit of the area that has got the penetrative damp, which has come through from the chimney stack. The chimney stack has actually been capped off now, but of course the historic moisture in the brickwork is still coming through. So we've gone over that. Remember, if there's any flaky surface, sort that out before you start putting your adhesive on. So I've got that on there, got my roller, plenty on it, and I'm going to bring it down far enough, make sure I keep away from the books, I'm only doing this face. I'm going to bring it down far enough that when I get the damp stop on, I'm not needing to retouch up with any adhesive around because I've got enough on it. I'll show you getting one on and then two, then we'll have a look at the end. Now, one tub of adhesive is enough to do one roll of the Dampstop paper, the Dampstop Thermic. I don't know where you can see on the camera, I have got a nail in the wall where our picture goes. I'm not taking that out. I'll just make sure I've not missed any. There's plenty on there. Put that down. Literally, I've got a squeegee and I have that to hang off the roll. Shears, pick it up off the floor, and I've got a snap off blade. If you look down below, there is a link to Amazon that covers a lot of these products that you can actually buy off my Amazon storefront. Please look into that. Right, my steps in the middle. Now you don't need to plumb. I'm gonna hang straight to the top angle. Get it on, just overlapping slightly. You don't have to be too precise. I want a little bit of an overlap up at the top, so I can trim back. I've got probably about, I'll do that there. Whereabouts is that? I can just trim that off. That's on the floor. That into place. I've got a slight overlap at the top, only by about 1/4 of an inch. I've got my squeegee. I'm pushing it out, getting any air bubbles up at the top, coming down. You can use a hanging brush if you like, but I find a squeegee is probably a little bit more firmer to get this stuff down. Going across. Don't worry if you get a little bit of a crease in it, you can lift it back up. Right, this is where the picture hook stroke nail is. I'm just getting my blade, just doing a star cut over it. Push it over into place, and that is nicely gone on without actually having to cut it through and off. So just squeegeeing that down now. Up in the angle, I've got no air bubbles in it. We are going over a plastered, painted surface. Marked it there, all the way across. Right, sharp blade, I'm going to snap that off. I am using the spatula as a straight edge. I wouldn't be using that if it was a finished paper, but because this is the Wallrock Dampstop, I just want to make sure that it is just trimmed nicely into that sealing edge, like so. Take that off. As I say, this does not need to be horizontally plumb, vertical, whatever you want to call it, because we will be lining over this at another stage. Right, that's good. I've got a bucket of hot warm water. I will just wipe that top edge in case there's any paste that's been pushed onto the ceiling. Just wipe it off, feel it, wipe it down, and that's good. Now what I'm going to do is just neatly trim these edges off. We don't have to be too precise on these edges. Let me just show you. Coming round, follow the corner down like so. Doesn't matter if you're a little bit off the corner, because you will fill that edge and make it neat when you come with your finished Wallrock over the top. That's it. Because don't forget, we'd only got that area there that we'd got a problem with the damp. There you go. Sponge that corner down. So those edges don't need to be that neat, so long as you've got them trimmed back. You don't want them protruding over, because that will create an edge that will get caught and pull back. So just keep it slightly away from the actual corner, and because this is a traditional plastered chimney breast, they are slightly rounded. Now if you did want to use a straight edge and get them in even neater, you could do. There you go, I've got that down. I'm happy enough with that. Because as I say, my area of damp was round about there. Right, that's down. All good. All good. So the corners there are trimmed back. They're not perfectly straight because I've done them freehand. I'm now going to drop down and put the next one on, and then I will show you what it looks like at the end. Don't need the steps, I can just work straight out the bucket. I don't need to cut that in there. I can go slightly onto the silver foil, because when I butt up joint, what I will be doing is putting some more paste across there as well. I'm putting plenty of adhesive on, because this adhesive is waterproof. Now we're good with that. Just got a new blade out because I was at the end of my blades. Right, again, coming up to a corner. If you were wrapping round, you could do. I'm trying to get these as butt as I possibly can. There's probably about an inch or so overlap that I've allowed myself to do the cutting on. Now, moving it up. Don't try and get the whole piece down in one go and then try and move it. Just work with a top band strip there. Pull it off the surface. Get it down. You're looking for a butt joint. And as I've said, if you're using the traditional pitch foil, which you can still get, but it's not as good as this, you would be overlapping it. I'm going to try and cut that as neat as I can in one now. Let's get it down on that. That's down nicely. Let's get that down. Yeah, you can still get the old style, and if you were using that, you would be overlapping a good, let's call it a quarter of an inch. But with this stuff, you do not need to overlap. You can overlap with it, but it will be a little bit of a thick edge that you will need to address and fill and get out. Lose with your filler. Across there and down. You get a bit of a crease, just pull it back, move it all the way across. Back up there, you can just see. I'm going to do the same. Get your blade out, hold it on an angle, just cut to that corner. And I keep telling you, don't worry if it's not too neat. We're not looking at neat on these corners. This is just to get it on. Right, that is lovely on. It's all down on this side as well. Just run your hand over it to make sure there's no air bubbles. That's tight. Really good. If you have got a hanging brush, which I have here, make sure you wash it out after use, but you can just go over it with a hanging brush. Make sure you've not missed any, but you will also see if you've missed anything. Right, I'm just going to get a brush full of paste, and on these joints just brush over that joint there like so, just to seal that edge all the way across. Now, moisture will not go through this waterproof adhesive, so that's how we are on that. Let's get you a bit closer if we can. Can you see? Just brushed all the way across. Let's put a little bit around that. Nail in the wall as well. Right, let me crack on. I'll do the last two pieces there, and then I'll show you what I'm doing at the very end. So, see you in a couple of minutes. It doesn't take long when you paste in the wall. Now, I've just finished off those last two pieces down there. You've got that one there, butt jointed, and I've just brushed the adhesive over the joints there and there. I've got an air vent for the chimney breast there that have gone round. I didn't take it off because it's an old one, and you know what brittle plastic's like. I didn't want to risk it, so I've done the traditional video there, how to cut around a plug socket. Same sort of principle, just going around that. Now I've got it all on. There was a bit of waste at the bottom, which I just trimmed across the top with a blade, and again I've used the plastic smoother just to get the cut edge. That skirting board's all over the place. It's not a very straight cut to be doing, so I've just used the plastic squeegee, cut across that, and then that is all nicely pressed down. Now for the purpose of this video, I'm going to say to you, do as I say, don't do as I do, or do as I say, yeah, you know what I mean. That needs to be left that needs to be left 48 hours before you actually paper over the top. And it does say on the back of the instructions that you need to just prime that silver surface before you put any papers over the top, i.e. your Wallrock fibre liner. So what I'm going to do while I'm here, you're just going to see me get the tub. This is the tub adhesive that I've got, you know, in here that was thinned down for priming. I'm just going to pop the lid. And for the purpose of this video, just to show you that you can do it, I'm going to brush from top to bottom using this thin down. It is thin, it's quite watery. Let me brush out. Bed your brush into it. Don't need to wash your brush out or anything. Just bed your brush in, and literally I'm going to go top to bottom, just brushing. This is only a 2.5 inch. Be a bit quicker if I had a bigger brush, but I just want to do the video showing you that you can actually use a brush to apply this. And all I'm going to be doing is just putting this wash coat, i.e. primer coat, over the surface, working out the tin because I'm going to be quite quick, and just brushing it over the surface there. You can't see it as well as what I'm doing, but we've got surface tension, and your surface tension is the silver foil, whatever you want to call it, and it is sitting. It's like trying to paint onto a candlestick. Now the whole purpose of actually putting this primer coat on thin is that, one, it's easy to apply, which the stuff isn't difficult to apply anyway, but also when this dries it will give you a bit of a tacky surface, and you can see I'm still going over the areas that I brushed on the joints. They're like doubling up on the adhesive. When you get this on and it's dried, it gives you a surface that is slightly tacky, that when you roll the adhesive on for doing the fibre liner, it's the fibre liner adhesive isn't going to be sitting like it is now, because you've already put that primer coat on that's doing the sitting now. So when that's dry, which later this afternoon, that'll have gone off. When we come back to actually doing the wallpapering with the fibre liner over the top, that will already have been dried off and gone sticky for you, and you're not going to have the problems where you're putting the adhesive on, this damp stop adhesive, and it's sitting on you, not making the Wallrock stick to the surface. The priming is helping that adhesion. When I've not primed a wall like this, I don't think I did it actually in the last video, what I do is roll the wall out first and then come back to it for a second roll out of adhesive. Now that seems to work, but this is better doing it like this. You can see it's very sissy, like painting a candlestick, but that will dry off and give you a base for actually working on with your lining paper after. So let me crack on, I'll see you in a minute. There we have it. I've actually brushed it on using my brush. It's only the thin down version, and I'll just go over it again. You just brush it on, and as you can see, it brushes on and then it goes we call it sissing. It's literally like painting over a candlestick with paint. It doesn't want to go on it. Once you've got it all on though, you can just rebrush over it, just to go over it, make sure you've not missed anything. If you so wanted, you can also use your roller, and depending on the thickness of the actual damp stop adhesive, sometimes you probably feel the damp stop adhesive's thin anyway, even though you've not thinned it. You could actually just, I'll do it on there, roll it out and go over it that way. It's entirely up to you, so long as you've got a primer surface on that damp stop wallpaper on the silver side prior to you hanging your fibre lining over the top. That'll be good to go, because the adhesive of that damp stop adhesive will help the second layer of adhesive going over the top, because you won't have that sitting happening when you're applying the actual adhesive for hanging the lining over the top. But literally you just can go over it like that. That will dry. It'll still feel a bit tacky, but you've got a good sound base for actually hanging your lining over the top. So what you've just seen me do there, I've gone over it with the roller to give you the idea of what you can also do. Once you've gone over it a couple of times, you'll see less sissing, but when that is dry, that gives you a nice, let's call it a sticky base for going over it again for your paste the wall Wallrock fibre liner. And that's all you need to do. It's quite an easy one, isn't it? Stop that damp patch coming through. You're not going to get anything staining, because the last video that you saw there, the problems we'd got was actually the soot staining through the brickwork, affecting the finished wallpaper. This foil, and we call it foil, I haven't got a piece now, Brian's cleared up. We've cleared up. This foil is literally, it looks like a spaceman suit, but nothing will penetrate through that, stain or damp. And remember, I'm not telling you to put this on if you've got a water leak. Get the water leak sorted first. When it's dried out the best you possibly can and it can't come out anymore, then you can put this over the top. So that's it. Hope that's helped everybody.